I'm going to read this as fast as I can because the food is sitting right in front of me. And that is so mean. But Danny said we got to do the speeches now, so. First of all, I'd like to welcome my new sister-in-law, Katie, and her family into our family. It's been great getting to know all of you. And I would especially like to thank my mom and dad for always being there for us and for having to put up with double the trouble. Because we were kids, we won't go there, but we were a lot of trouble. But there were two of us in our defense. So I think we came out all right, though, buddy.
Hey, what did Pastor say about the plane?
And of course, I'd like to thank all of you guys for coming tonight. So let me just start by saying that this is tough. Well, normally I just speak from the heart and improvise a best man speech. I thought to myself, if I don't write this down, most likely end up rambling on everybody our entire life story together, which would take 28 years to explain. So where do I start? And how do I express my happiness for Danny and Katie? Well, let me just first start by saying there comes a time in every person's life when they meet their one true love, their soulmate, their destiny, the one person who will know and understand them for the rest of their life. And that moment came for Danny about 28 years ago when he met me. But by the way, I'm not Dan. Dan's not giving his own best man speech. If I had a nickel for every time people call me by the wrong name, I'd be one rich guy. And that includes just today alone. In fact, I had to switch with Katie in the rehearsal line because so many people say congratulations to me that I don't want to mix them up. So, but for those of you on Katie's side of the family, my name is Robbie and I'm Danny's twin brother. And Dan, thanks for asking me to be your best man, the best man at your wedding. I'm just glad you can finally admit who the best man is. And I guess it's custom for the best man to explain how he met the groom. Well, it was a long, dark day. That's a whole other story. We won't go there. But what I can tell you is that at one time, we literally were one egg that split off into two. So who got the better side is still up for debate. But I guess you could say we actually met then technically before we were even born. Some of you already may know this, but I do have a confession to make. While our mom was pregnant with us, I stole all the nutrients, so when we were born, I got to go home right away and cozy up at home while Dan was left to suffer in an incubator and was badly malnourished. So, Danny, to this day, I'm really sorry for this. Although we were, and always have been, competitive since before birth, we've always stuck by each other's side since before birth as well. Literally, I'm serious. We actually forced Mom to have a C-section birth because our arms were hooked together and they couldn't separate us. So it was as if we didn't want to let the other one go, and I find myself standing here still struggling with that today. But we've been side by side our entire lives. When you think about it, we shared a playpen as babies, a bedroom at home at Mom and Dad's growing up, a dorm room in college, an apartment in college. We shared a wallet at one time too, and we had our weekly allowance. But so you could say we pretty much shared everything. But when we were in college, people always asked, "Why are you living with your brother?" I could never do that. Living in dorming, of course. And I would always say, well, since we're used to simply putting up with one another all the time, why not? But the real truth was, of course, that I probably miss him and couldn't imagine rooming with anybody else. And it's actually nice having someone view the world in the same way that you do too, especially when you're in college and trying to figure life out. And although I don't know what it's like not to be a twin, I can tell you that Dan and I do share the same ideas on just about everything, almost. Music was and still is my favorite thing that I share with Dan. That is pretty much all we did freshman year and sophomore year of college, and drank a few beers too. It's also nice when Sean and Max came up to visit all the time as well. Going to the same college, though, did have its downfalls, however. I remember freshman year, I'd walk around campus, and someone I didn't recognize would come up to me and say, "Hey, Dan, how'd your comm final go?" And I used to take the time to stop and explain, "Oh, you must have class with my twin brother, Dan. He's the comm major." Half the time, people looked at me and just thought I was crazy. While the other half would question, why would someone make something like that up? So, needless to say, by the time senior year came, and I got so sick of explaining the same story over again, I just said, when they said, "Hi, Dan," I'd just say hi and just keep walking along. All of us had nicknames in college, too. Ryan was called Poodles. Matt was called Canada, 8. And Luke was called Dumpy. Jason was called Bucko. And John Newman was just John Newman. Powers was Power. Grant Powers was Powers. But, Danny was called Guppy for a little while, but eventually that didn't stick anymore, and people started simply just referring to us as the twins. So anybody who knows Danny can attest that he has one of the kindest hearts in the world. He cares strongly about the people he loves, and he always aims to see the good in people and not the bad. I remember when we were little kids playing at my grandparents in Shawano at their cottage, and there was a beehive behind the old garage, and we were just little kids, but I told Danny to stay away because bees are mean and they will sting you. And what do you think Danny did? He went up to the bees to try and make friends with them and talk to them, and ended up getting stung numerous amount of times. But it's been said by some that the true hidden character of someone will come out after a few drinks. Well, I'm here to tell you what Dan's like after a few drinks. He'll go around to literally everybody in the room, give them a huge hug, and say, "I love you guys." But that's just his nature, and he wants everybody to be happy because it's what makes him happy. And I will most of all never forget how Danny was there for me during the tough times too. Whenever I was sick, he'd take care of me. If I was broke, he'd spot me a buck, all the while knowing I'd do the same and did the same for him. I will never forget freshman year when I missed two weeks of school because of surgery. I was so worried about missing class. He went to each of my professors and told them that I was in the hospital, would be out for 2 weeks. He took the time to get all my homework that I missed and collected all the information he could so I wouldn't fall behind. And as far as relationships go, I can't remember a time that both of us had girlfriends at the same time. Every time Dan had a girlfriend, I ended up becoming that girl's competition for Danny's attention. And every time I had a girlfriend, it was the same thing. It's almost like we were waiting for the right time and the right girls to come along that could tolerate our close bond. Well, sure enough, as soon as we found them, it didn't take too long to propose afterwards. And that leads us here today, brother. And I'm here to reassure you that Katie is the right girl, and this is the right place, and this is the right time. And with that said, I will pass the torch on to Katie as we enter the next chapters in our own lives. I love being a part of your past, and I'm thrilled to see that Katie is your future, and your future looks to be good. I love you, Dan. Congratulations.
I know. My brother and I never had that.